Hey there, I'm back today to read you lesson number 4 from the workbook in A Course in Miracles. I wanted to take the time and apologize for the quality of the previous post. I knew what went wrong, so that shouldn't happen again. I wanted to reiterate some of the points that I made in that last video just in case you missed them. One being the definition of what a miracle is. According to the definition in A Course in Miracles, a miracle is a shift in our perception. So that's what this particular course aims to do, is shift our perception that we have of the world. We have a thought system that is based on fear, and that fear pretty much prevents us from experiencing love and our true reality as it really is, and the unity that really exists among all minds. And this particular lesson is moving forward in this goal to shift our perception, and it is actually talking about how the thoughts that we have in our minds don't mean anything. So I'll go ahead and read this lesson to you and talk a little bit about it when we're done. These thoughts do not mean anything. They are like the things I see in this room, on this street, from this window, in this place. Unlike the preceding ones, these exercises do not begin with the idea for the day. In these practice periods, begin with noting the thoughts that are crossing your mind for about a minute. Then apply the idea to them. If you are already aware of unhappy thoughts, use them as subjects for the idea. Do not, however, select only the thoughts you think are bad. You will find, if you train yourself to look at your thoughts, that they represent such a mixture that, in a sense, none of them can be called good or bad. This is why they do not mean anything. In selecting the subjects for the application of today's idea, the usual specificity is required. Do not be afraid to use good thoughts as well as bad. None of them represents your real thoughts, which are being covered up by them. The good ones are but shadows of what lies beyond, and shadows make sight difficult. The bad ones are blocks to sight, and make seeing impossible. We do not want either. This is a major exercise and will be repeated from time to time in somewhat different form. The aim here is to train you in the first steps toward the goal of separating the meaninglessness from the meaningful. And it is the first attempt in the long-range purpose of learning to see the meaninglessness as outside you and the meaningful within. It is also the beginning of training your mind to recognize what is the same and what is different. In using your thoughts for application of the idea for today, identify each thought by the central figure or event it contains. For example, this thought about blank does not mean anything. It is like the things I see in this room, on the street, and so on. You can also use the idea for a particular thought that you recognize as harmful. This practice is useful, but is not a substitute for the more random procedures to be followed for the exercises. Do not, however, examine your mind for more than a minute or so. You are too inexperienced as yet to avoid a tendency to become pointlessly preoccupied. Further, since these exercises are the first of their kind, you may find the suspension of judgment in connection with thoughts particularly difficult. Do not repeat these exercises more than 3 or 4 times during the day. We will return to them later. So as you can tell, this is a little bit more in-depth than the previous 3 lessons that we have covered so far. And it's actually telling us, interestingly enough, to equate our thoughts with the same as things that we see in our environment. So objects in the environment, things in our environment, people in our environment, they're no different than our thoughts. And the reason why is because what we see is a projection of our own thoughts that we have. So that's why we are taking the time out to incorporate how our thoughts don't mean anything, as well as the time that we did already by taking a look at the things around us and realizing that they also do not mean anything. If we can actually stop judging our thoughts, how does that actually engender more peace in our lives? How does recognizing that our thoughts are meaningless really go against what we believe, which is to believe every thought that we have in our mind, and use that as a reason to feel good or a reason to feel happy? Our true nature is one of joy and love and peace. That is the foundation that we have. And everything that we experience that's not is an illusion. It is actually everything else that we experience is what's covering up what really exists. So go on and do this lesson and apply it to your daily life today and see what happens. Go ahead and let me know if you have any questions, any comments that you might have. Send me an email, and I'll be happy to answer any questions that you might have about starting the workbook lessons, or any questions that I might be able to answer about A Course in Miracles in general. And thanks for watching, and I'll be back with lesson number 5.